Traffic locked up.
We'll call to order the Finance Committee meeting for Thursday, July 17th. So I'll say the invocation and pledge. It's the vocation prayer of St. Francis. Most high, gracious God, give us a right faith, a firm hope, and a perfect charity, so that we may always and in all things act according to your holy will. In God's name we pray. Amen. Amen. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Ms. Suzanne. We are missing Councilman Dempsey Lambert, Councilman George Valentine, and Councilman Benny Johnson. All other members are present. Chair's additions, there are none. Public comment period. We have a few people lined up to speak on an item. If anyone else wishes to speak, please come and fill out a comment card. Next item is Lamar Dixon report. Mr. Eddie Crawford.
Good evening, Council. I believe you still have copies of our report from last week. If you will, turn to page 1. This is our typical report we do each month. You'll see the net operating loss there in the right-hand column about halfway down your page. This is over from the inception of July 2005. Further down that page, the next highlighted number is our available cash and investments, and then at the bottom is our fund balance. On page 2, this is for the month of May. We had an actual loss of $19,000 versus a budgeted loss of $28,000 for a positive variance of $8,888. Again, the next 2 pages kind of gives highlights to the month. Basically, where we were, we had 3 events that were on the books that were budgeted but did not occur. One was the RCA rodeo. Second one was a veterans motorcycle rally that was going to be held at the property, and then an additional motorcycle rally that was coming in behind that. Those did not occur. Moving on to page 4, this gives us our year to date through May. As you can see, our actual is $44,967,000. We had budgeted $96,858. Well, so right now we're at a negative variance of $51,891. The majority of that is due to those missed events. We're also carrying over we had budgeted the Parish Fair in April, that did not occur as well. Page 6, again, the first 3 quarters of that page just reiterates the first half of the report. As you go down to the highlighted line, that gives us the first 3 columns are, again, the month of May. And then the next 4 columns give you the year-to-date actuals, the budget, the variance, and then where we were last year. So last year we were at a positive 11,000. This year we're at a positive 44,967. And then below that gives us the total combined expenses and incomes from the parish as well as our operation. And again, you can see as you look across those lines where we are now versus where we were last year at that time. Page 6 is the balance sheet. Page 7 gives you our accounts receivables. Still working on some of those to get those cleared up, but for the most part things seem to be in order. And then finally, the last page of that report is our occupancy for the month of May. Do you have any questions?
Questions? Councilman Bell.
Thank you, Chairman. Eddie, only the events that did not happen, is there a reason they chose not to come? Or
The RCA rodeo, we were negotiating with them the year before last. We really gave them a sweetheart deal to come on the property and use the facility. We couldn't work out what we thought was a fair and just price for this next time. We have other rodeo promoters that we would have to justify a significant reduction over in that time.
I guess where on the report is how much is a hookup each night? You know, the more or less the permanent people that are there all the time?
The permanent folks that are out there right now, we're doing it per the amp rating of the RV. 30 amp RV goes for $450 a month, and the 50 amp RVs are going for $500 a month.
Okay. Because I've made several trips, Gorney and I, and it's always over 150 hookups, and I was just wondering how we
Right.
came to this fee.
Let's see, if you'll look in the ancillary incomes, if I'm correct, Richard, isn't that, those numbers are in ancillary income for the month. Let's see. Oh, I'm sorry, they're in other operating incomes, page 3, for the non-event RV hookups, right below administrative costs. That's that'll show you 65,294 was the actual income for the month of May.
For the month, okay. Okay, thank you.
Question, or comment really. So, $2.25 million lost since inception,
That's correct.
and our occupancy rate. Just looking at these, I mean, 3%, 29%, 16%. I mean, you feel you're doing absolutely everything you can to book every event possible here.
Absolutely. The 4-H building it's not climate controlled. It's if you walk through that facility right now, it's unbearable. It's very difficult to say. The weddings, we're probably over the year we'll probably do close to 30 weddings out there. So I would say yes, for that month we're doing very well. These numbers don't include setup days or strike days. So I would say you could add some percentage of that if we included those types of days in this. This is strictly events, not a set day or a strike day. Some of our events will take multiple days. So we could include those, but in the meantime, yes, I would tell you we're doing everything possible to keep the place booked.
Councilman Cluett.
Yeah, Eddie, back to the rodeo type events, that's what the whole facility, it's around catering to that type of event, and I know it's not air conditioned, but I've been to a lot of rodeos over my life, and I've been to a lot of coliseums that weren't air conditioned. Matter of fact, I've only been to a few that were. Are we going out and trying to seriously get these folks business? And I'm just asking, you saying you're having to give a sweetheart deal. What's a sweetheart deal? I mean, the people in the area that need a facility of that type, that size, where are they going other than there?
There are several smaller facilities around us. There's one in Amite, there's one in New Roads. So we're competing with those smaller events. So that we could book the place if that's what our goal is to just fill the calendar. That would be easy to do, but at some point we've also got to watch the bottom line. So we look at every revenue stream, and if at some point there will be times and events where it will be better for us to remain what we call the business dark versus opening up, staffing up, utilities. Utilities are killing us right now. So that's kind of what we're doing. But yes, we are going out and we're soliciting these events. We've in the past 2 months we've even offered money to get new events, new associations in. We're working with a group in Tennessee right now. We're working with another group in Georgia to try to attract. And what we're looking for is 700 stall nights, not 70 stall nights. Those are the kinds of events that we're going after. So if we take the rodeo, for instance, there are 2 other rodeo promoters that come to us, and they have an existing deal. They've been with us, and we've tried to work with them to keep their costs down. When we brought in the new folks, we gave them a good deal to come into a new market and get their event established. Well, then we have to take them to what we consider a fair rate, being what the other folks are paying. So that's what we're doing right now. We're going out to try to bring these folks in, is we're trying to go out there and encourage them to come in with sponsorship dollars, getting them plugged into the market, and try to basically get them here and then establish a multi-year deal with them. That's where we're hoping to gain ground.
Yeah, and I understand that you're catering to a clientele up on a different level,
Right.
or a facility, capacity of a different level. And I guess I don't quite understand is, where's your break point of where you decide, no, we can't facilitate you guys, because you can't afford it, and you're not going to put as many stall nights in there. I'd like to see the place being used. Okay. I would think that if you're that depending on the size of the event, that you staff up or you staff down according to that event.
Sure. And that's easy to do in some situations, and others not. The design of the facility doesn't necessarily always facilitate staffing down. You know, in arenas or in other places where there are physical doors in places with locks and with guards, we certainly try to do that, but at the same time we have to secure the place and make sure that people aren't coming through open doors, open gates to get into place. So I mean, we are, what I've said from the beginning, we are bare bones out there, and we try to do that and pass those savings on to our events as well, because we are competing with not only large facilities in Georgia and Tennessee and Oklahoma, but also with smaller events here right in our neighborhood.
Well, I mean, I've been from Texas all the way around the curve, from Florida up to the East Coast, and they're bragging on this facility right here. Okay, and there's people that would like to be in it. I believe, are we competing with the River Center in Baton Rouge and places in New Orleans for some intermediate events, things like that? And are we getting the best look at our facility? That's the question I got for you.
Right, we are definitely competing. I mean, we're competing with other facilities that our company manages.
Right. That's my question to you. We're competing with other companies that other places that your company manages.
I would not encourage you to call the Parish Training Center. They're upset with us. We've taken the event from them. I won't say taken. Well, I did. We took it. It was a better event for our property, and we have acquired some from the River Center as well. We make better sense for some of those types of events. We certainly won't do a big major concert that's out touring right now, but we've talked to the Jazz Fest folks for 2005, 2006, and you know, the only reason they're not there right now is because it's not a 4-lane highway going in and out. So we've been talking to those folks, and we're encouraging them, and you know, we've also said this from the beginning. The stability of the facility is a major concern. We're talking with folks, and they're booking years in advance of us, and right now we're talking with people, and they're saying, "Are you going to be here next year?" So we have to tell that when we're sitting down and negotiate with them. You know, here's what we're going to do. Here's what we'd like you to do for 2010, but we'll know more by October or December. You know, and that just kind of puts the brakes on, and they move on, and they're looking for other places. You know, it's very expensive to establish an event and/or move an event. So we are certainly out there banging our heads and shaking hands and moving around, but you know, I think we're doing a fairly good job. If you look at our calendar versus some of the other facilities like ours, I would say we're probably have 50 to 60 more events on the books than others. We are certainly out there making the place available, but at the same time, we're not going to just throw the doors open and let the place come in, because then you'll start asking me about the bottom line. So it's a double-edged sword, is how we run the schedule versus and keep an eye on the bottom line.
Well, as a recreational facility, and it's being supported by the parish at this point, it's I guess at any given time a break-even point would be satisfactory. Okay. But I would just like to know that, you know, we can coordinate as far as 4 lanes. No, we don't have 4 lanes going in and out, but I'm sure with some coordination with the Ascension Parish Sheriff's Office, Gonzales PD, contraflow on events, exiting, entering, that type of stuff, and just trying to work with everybody. I would like to know that we are serving at least the parish and everybody that has use of it with the parish, trying to work with them and with the region to try to get that facility, because the only way to get people to know it is to get them inside the door.
Okay.
And some of the small people, 2 years from now, they're the big people.
Sure. Well, like I say, we are encouraging. We're working with several. We've had, I think, I don't know the exact number, 15 new events in the facility this year. Working with those to get them growing in the way, and then what we anticipate when we work with these folks is that then we start sharing more as we grow. We'll grow together, if that makes sense. So. And again, I'd have to get that number for you, but I think since 2005, we put 95 new events in the facility that have never been to Lemoore. So, again, I would say we're doing a pretty good job out there, and we could certainly. That's been our issue from the beginning: is do we stack the calendar with events and then we suffer financially, or do we try to get both of them to move in a positive direction?
Yeah, I just think the facility did great for the bicentennial celebration for an outdoor concert.
Yes, sir.
probably one of the best places around.
It's great. I said the Jazz Fest folks have been up here twice. They were going to initiate a whole new concept event. They also do Ascension and 2 other events down in New Orleans. They love the facility. It was just their concern was how they're going to move traffic in and out of there. And when they're talking about traffic, they're talking about 80,000 people a day, not 80,000 people over 4 days or 3 days. So we're talking with all these.
Well, I've been to all those festivals also in New Orleans. They don't have a lot of 4-lane highways moving people in and out either.
I'm just passing on
Okay.
what they're telling us.
And there's only a few of their events are held inside.
Right.
Thank you, sir.
Sure.
Well, I think it's safe to say I speak for everyone. I say we're frustrated with every month, kind of like a broken record, seeing us bleed money when it's we have plenty of needs and not enough money to make ends meet there. So I'm appreciative that I know the parish president has communicated a deadline for the end of the year to have perhaps bring something to us that could kind of change the game, so to speak. And I'm looking forward to that and hoping we stick to that, and we have some hard decisions to make then. But there's no way we're all going to sit here and wait 4 years and let this continue to happen. I don't think that's responsible, and it's been going on and for too long, I think, as is. So, any other comments?
I have one.
Councilman Joseph.
Yes. I see you have down there budget, listed 98 events for the year.
Let's see. I'm sorry.
Number of events.
Which page, sir?
That'll be page 4.
Yes, sir.
Out of those 98 events, how many of them are weddings? You're counting weddings as events?
We're counting weddings as events, yes, sir. If it's a room booked and we're taking an income, we include it.
So out of 98 of them,
I would say we're probably, right now at this point of the year, we're probably 15 to 20 weddings.
all right, so 50% of that 98 is probably wedding
If this
For the
number
year.
is true.
for the year. If you
15 of those 98 events will possibly weddings.
for the year,
For this year, yes, to May.
right? So and you estimate another 15 to the end of the year.
Probably, yes, sir. I'm going off of just last year's numbers. I think last
All
year
right,
was
so
25.
60, and then I'm just running off number 2. 60 of the events that you really market for the outside business.
60 events.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're saying 30 of them are weddings.
Right.
They come to you
Okay, I
to
understand.
reserve the spot.
Yes.
So 60 of them are where you are going out there and solicit vendors.
Right, correct.
And how much are we paying you again?
Not enough.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. President.
Some of our events are 7 to 10 days long, so I think that's something that might help.
Mr. President, you have an update for us, perhaps?
I'm just looking at these non-event RV hookups. Where you're showing positive 50, almost $60,000 a month. Is that correct on page 3?
I would say that's correct.
And if we wouldn't have the hookups, we'd be losing a lot more. So, I mean, let's say that should be $720,000 a year in income that you didn't think you were going
Correct.
to have there, didn't anticipate. So, I mean, our bottom line should really be coming down as far as our losses because of this. And why?
It should be coming down. You're also paying a huge lease payment, I think, if you're looking at the bottom line. Going back to just the RVs, that is a revenue stream that we didn't anticipate back in the beginning. We didn't anticipate the first 6 months of our operation being absorbed with Katrina recovery operations either, where we made quite a considerable sum.
Well, our lease payments are actually gone down, I think, because of the bond market. I think it's tied to the bonds. I mean, I just can't understand how we're not breaking even or coming close. I mean, I'd have to. I mean, if we just rented trailer spaces out there and fired y'all, I mean, we'd be in a positive mode. I mean, we'd be making money.
That's certainly your option.
You know, but I mean, I'm just
Yeah.
pointing that out. I mean,
Guys, we're out there every day. We're pushing this thing for you.
I understand, but
I think we've all said, even the foundation said, you should never anticipate this thing operating in the black. We can get it very close.
well, I mean, that's all. I think that this parish and the people of this parish, if we could get close, I think it would be people would be satisfied. But you know, even though we taking in $700,000 more than we would anticipate it, I mean, thank God for that. But we're still going to end up losing $300,000 or $400,000. Is what I'm looking at. So, I mean, it just doesn't make sense. And when we to continue that way, as I said, we could just shut it down and rent trailer spaces and cut grass. I mean, it's just a tough situation that we're in. I know it's a great facility, and we want to keep it. And if we could air condition it, we could do year-round events there, and it may draw some more people there. But I don't know if we should turn down anything at this point. As Randy was saying, you know, if it makes sense, and even though it's not a big event, at least we'll be cutting our losses, hopefully, if you scale down with the trailer rentals and stuff. So I wish y'all would look into that, and hopefully in the future, if it's takes a sweetheart deal, maybe we need to do some sweetheart deals. So.
Councilman Scheck-Snyder.
Thank you, Captain Lower. Thank you. A couple things. One, you know, you had said they had some reasons why we hadn't been able to do this and doing that. I would sure like to. You've had about 3 years now, and I think it's time enough to evaluate the facility and how to operate and what's pluses and minuses and everything. Could you really give us some, you know, take your time and give us some recommendations for some things that could be done to bring us to the next level about what President Martinez said, you know, where we can have an opportunity to break even and things of that sort, or possibly make money if there's some things we need to look at. And the reason being is that in our agreement that we have with the owners, we are very, very limited as to what we can do with the facility. It's supposed to be just equestrian oriented. I don't think that RVs, an RV park, which is basically what we have, that we have in rodeos at, is what it turned out to be, is equestrian oriented. If we took that away, we wouldn't do anything. But it's been very positive, and it didn't take away from the rodeo aspect, the equestrian aspect. My deal is this. I would like to see us have more of an opportunity to be very positive and use our resources, or whatever resources available, to be able to make money and have a lot more freedom to do some things. If it means having a hotel on the site, if it means having some corporate office space, or if it means expanding for some type of conventions or something, to have more money makers there. I would like for some recommendations from y'all so that we can have some grounds to stand on whenever we negotiate, to try to not have this just a big money pit. And it's a great facility. I want to keep it. I love it. But we cannot continue to operate like this. So we need some assistance, some guidance as to how we can turn this around and make it positive. And I appreciate any help and assistance. If it's 4-lane highways, if it's such and such, if it's such and such, then where would that bring us to? Okay. In y'all professional opinion.
Sure.
And then we can go from there. I think that would.
You can have that for the next meeting, Eddie?
Sure. Yes, sir.
Okay. Councilman Cluett.
Yeah, I mean, you know, basically what I'm talking about by the sweetheart deals is, it don't matter, you know, who it is. I know you're a professional organization, and, you know, you're looking at, you know, big time leases and big time events, stuff like that. What we got here is we're bleeding, okay? We're paying this through tax dollars from the Ascension Parish residents. So we want it accessible as much as possible to the Ascension Parish residents, even if it's a half-size event of what you normally have. We also subsidize in another way, is basically the lease of the kitchen to the Ascension Economic Development Corporation, which are sponsored by our tax dollars, and that went into that lease. And, you know, for the last 2 years, I mean, I don't believe that we have a recreation type facility in the parish that's a big time money maker, okay? Other than one of our football fields on Friday night in the fall. So I'm just looking for a management scheme for a break even, get it to where it's successful, that it's a shining star for the community, for the parish, and for the region. I know it has potential. And I know it's not limited to just equestrian events. It's limited to a large scale of events, outdoor concerts, automobile shows, things like that, and just a number of things. Large company functions that take in the indoors and the outdoors of the area.
Yes, sir.
I know that facility backwards and forwards. It's a good facility, and it's well worth the parish and the community trying to hold on to it and not garage sale it. So I would like to see some kind of management scheme that will put forward with a plan that would try to get that thing in a break-even point and pay your salary, if that's what you would like. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman? Mr. Chairman?
Councilman Lambert.
Yeah, Mr. Crawford, you probably was here. I was here the last 4 years since we started with y'all, and we had several studies that came back to us as far as it break even. It's not going to happen. Even with a subsidy of a tax or something to that effect, it's still not going to break even. And that came from Bert Falk and all of the studies that we took place. You know, that's what came back to us. That's why the previous council tried to go to the people with it, you know, and put a little tax base on it to see if they wanted it, but it got vetoed, so we didn't go any further with it. So that's where it ended. But I don't think it's going to break even. And from what I can understand from what y'all told us, all y'all facilities that y'all manage, most of them don't break even. It just brings money into the economy is where the money comes in.
There's about 250 around the world that we manage, and again, could get the number for you, but I would bet that maybe 15 of them actually break even.
Right.
It's an economic impact situation. It's a generator.
True, but I'm sure their occupancy rates are a little bit higher, and I don't think anybody objectively could say we're functioning at
Actually,
that.
again, I would just encourage you to check some of those facility schedules versus our schedule.
Okay.
And you'll
Are you
be
losing this?
surprised.
Are we losing this much? Are you losing this much money elsewhere at your other facilities you manage?
Yes, the Superdome is losing considerable.
Well, the Superdome probably has other
their
issues.
schedule is a lot smaller than ours. They're just doing bigger events. I mean, it's how you want to look at it, gentlemen. It's you know, we're stacking it full of events. We'll be somewhere around 350 event days this year, and we are doing everything from you know, non-charge fees with the Boy Scout Skeet Meet in October. We're doing Swamp Hop starts up tomorrow. That is a huge event for the parish. Cystic fibrosis, I think, last year donated $200,000 to that cause from that event. So we have really great events out there, and it is a truly good facility. But again, I would tell you that, you know, as Mr. Lambert said, we have said it, the foundation has said it. We've put a very aggressive budget together for the last 3 years, and if you took the lease payments out of this, I think we would be operating somewhere around $300,000 a year loss. That's in everybody else's eyes, that's pretty good. But I understand what you're saying. It's citizens' money that we're spending out there, and if they don't benefit directly from it, then I'm sure they're going to put pressure on you guys.
Councilman Cluett.
Yeah, I'd just like to throw out to the council that we have the Ascension Economic Development Corporation that we are funding right now, that, you know, you may want to think about taking a look at letting know, you know, we're funding them to the tune of $300,000 a year plus the $40,000, and I think there was a request for that to go up for the kitchen. And we've got a good group of professionals in there. We're paying for a facility that they're leasing right now. There's a possibility of looking into getting that group to manage this place, and we can consume some of this lease and management fees, and see if that's something that we can look at for the future. I don't care if it takes 6 months to look at it.
That's a good point. Councilman Cullen.
I agree with Councilman Cluett. I also agree with President Martin there. I don't think we need to turn down anything. Well, not turn it down, but I think we need to look at everything that comes through there and make a decision, because we might lose money there, but we're gaining money in the city, shopping and taxes on the hotels and stuff like that. So we need to look at the whole picture right there. We can make money elsewhere.
Councilman Dempsey Lambert.
Yeah, Eddie, thank you for announcing the Swamp Pop Festival. We're ready.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Everything, and that starts
Today,
tomorrow?
We've got people moving in tonight,
Okay.
so they'll be here. We will be at capacity in the RV lot, and the facility for the 2 days will be, it's quite a good show. I encourage
Thank you,
everybody to come out.
Okay, well, we could probably stay on this topic all night, but anybody have anything else? All right, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda. Thank you, Eddie. Next is our financial report from Gwen LeBlanc, our CFO. Ms. LeBlanc.
Good evening, gentlemen. We have before you your sales tax report. I won't go into details with it because you've been having it since last scheduled meeting. So just a few comments about it. Sales taxes are still up. Although our residential permits continue to drop, year to date they're down by 39%. So I think we're realizing a correction in the post-Katrina market. And also, along with that, and probably for the same reason, our motor vehicle taxes are down 12%. Okay, so if you turn to page 2, you can see the comparison to the budget, and we're using our 1-cent sales tax in these reports because that is our largest source of revenue, and this is our only undedicated tax that we have in the parish. It can be used for any lawful purpose. And you can see what it's funding. General fund is budget requires about 45% of its revenue from the sales tax. Road and Bridge requires about 83% of its budget from the sales tax, and Recreation requires about 74%. So these funds are just heavily reliable on the proceeds from the 1-cent sales tax. One note of, if you notice that the Recreation Department's percent of collection is up about 60%, that's because sales taxes are up. They get 10% of net collections, not a set amount. So that'll go with the collections. And then on the third page is just a depiction of the sales tax collections, where the parish is collecting our taxes. And this just shows you that the petrochemical industry and their suppliers, we're collecting about 49% from that sector. Consumer retail, we're collecting about 32%. And of course, motor vehicles represents 12%, and business to business 7%. These percents are status quo from last month, so there's no change in that percentage. And then the next page is the year-to-date collections compared 07 to 08. And 08 is the red bars, blue is the 07s, and you can see that, clearly see where consumer retail and the petrochemical industry, the first and last set of bars, is where the sales taxes are being collected this year compared to last year. And you can see motor vehicles and business-to-business sectors are down. And then the very last page is a historical chart, bar chart for your review, and it goes from 98 to 2008, and you can clearly see in each of our sales tax districts, East Ascension Drainage, Ascension Parish is 1% sales tax district, and our 0.5% sales tax district. You can see the peaks and valleys in the collections. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer. Otherwise, we can move on.
Questions for Ms. LeBlanc? Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, purchase of building and land located at 122 East Railroad Avenue, Gonzales, Louisiana for $210,000. Garney Gotro and Lindsay Manda.
Committee members, administration came to you several months ago with a proposed lease purchase agreement. You all gave your blessing, and we've been leasing this property for several months. It is now time for us to purchase it, and as you can see, Finance has provided you with a budget impact analysis.
Okay, and the budget impact analysis basically states that it's not budgeted, but we could come from the excess sales tax fund or the ad valorem, excess ad valorem tax.
Move to purchase the building.
Second. Motion by Councilman Sheikh Snyder to purchase the building. Second by Councilman Dennis Cullen. Any discussion? Objection by Councilman Thompson. Anybody else? Motion passes. Next item, we have a few speakers on. It's Bo Porto Special Tuesday. Before the parish president speaks, we'll ask the speakers to come forward. First is Miss Lynn Whitmer.
My name is Lynn Whitmer, and this is my son Scott, and I'd like to speak on his behalf. At the Christmas party for Special Tuesday, President Tommy Martinez said he would do whatever Special Tuesday needs. Mrs. Bobby has a need for additional funding, so I called President Martinez, and President Martinez told me to tell Mrs. Bobby to make a request for additional funding, and that's what we're doing. I'd like to ask the councilman and President Martinez to consider giving additional funding to help Miss Bobby with Bo Porter Special Tuesday so it may continue. As Councilman Kent Shake Snyder knows that a special needs child enjoys recreation just as much as a normal child does. As taxpayers, we pay for recreation, so why can't our children enjoy recreation as much as normal children do? Mrs. Bobby understands children with disabilities, as she started this program in memory of her grandchild, Bo Porter. Not every child can play basketball, or volleyball, or hockey, or bingo, or ride bikes, watch movies, play computer games, but they are all given the opportunity to do whatever their disability allows them to do at Special Tuesday while they spend time with their friends. Please come out and see how much fun they all have at Special Tuesday. I wish you could be at my house to explain to him. You only have 8 weeks to spend at Special Tuesday. He asks daily, how long will it be before Tuesday? He gets excited on Tuesday, and his expression is priceless, knowing he is going to the Civic Center to participate in activities at Special Tuesday that Miss Bobby has provided. I thank you for your time. For the ones that I was able to contact, I thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, we have Mr. Glenn Young.
My name's Glenn Young. I'm here on behalf of my daughter Taylor and all the kids that get to enjoy Special Tuesday. These kids spend their whole life in and out of hospitals.
You
just
I love playing basketball on Special Tuesday.
you enjoy it all, don't you? That's all I can say.
Why?
Come on, now.
What?
Thank you, sir.
That's all you can say.
Next, we have Mr. Daniel Thomas.
Good evening. I'd like to speak for all the children there, and this is what I wrote. Why the doors should stay open. It's good to have a place of peace, a place to rest, a place to forget all the mess. Life is short but sweet. Many people live to see this great day. No one loves this place more than those who have shed blood and sweated tears to see it open all these years. It was my first time going, and I enjoyed it a lot. I'm very thankful for those people who went the extra mile to see all these people smile. I hope the doors will be open. I thank God for all the soldiers, and freedom isn't free. God has blessed us all, and has blessed you with knowledge and wisdom. Thanks for all the times the doors were open.
Great. Thank you.
Thank
you. Mr. Parish President.
Well, Miss Bobby wrote me a letter and requested additional funding. After doing research, there's $8,000 that was put into the budget for alternative recreation. We have a contract with her at this point for $5,000, so that leaves an additional $3,000 that's still in that line item budget. think it's a great program. They do an excellent job. I remember when the program actually got started, I think it was during my first term in office. You know, all children are not created equally, and they have special needs, and you know, Bobby Blanchard is a great woman for doing this. She's always done a good job with the kids. She's a little hard-headed at times, but other than that, you know, her heart's in the right place. So one thing that we need to do is we need to send it to the Recreation Committee, since the money is actually budgeted in recreation. But I'd like Ms. Bobby to speak at this time.
Ms. Bobby Blanchard.
Well, I wasn't expecting that. Good afternoon, Councilman, Chairman, Parish President. I wasn't expecting that. I wanted to get up here and tell y'all what Special Tuesday was about, but they did better than I did. It looks like they are great, and we are in dire need of funding. Food has tripled, and equipment, I mean, every year it has risen so much, and we need it. Duct tape, screws, and nails just go so far. You know, it's starting to break down. And these children and their parents have only us in Ascension Parish that provides a program for every disease, not just one. And these parents have worked and paid taxes since the beginning of recreation, and their children have never gotten anything. So all I want to do is give back. They deserve it. They're beautiful. Please consider $5,000. We need it terribly. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Blanchard. Before you go, I want a couple comments. First, thank you for the service that you provide this parish. I think nobody has any question. It's needed and is a great thing. Before you leave, you said $5,000. Is that? But Mr. Parish President said it was $3,000. I'm trying to figure out exactly what you're requesting.
I'm trying to go for $5,000 because of the equipment that has to be replaced. 2 of the air hockey tables that are severely damaged are $1,200 apiece. We haven't even gotten to the Christmas party that I give them in their gifts, which is their pride and joy, their Christmas party. And with the food costs, because we feed these children and their PCAs, because we found out that these PCAs that bring the children to Sorrento do not get reimbursed for their gas and their time. That's a big thing. So with the tripling of the food prices and the equipment, it really has become a problem. I'm not asking, I'm begging. How's that? Thank all of you so much, and please keep it in your hearts.
Thank you. Questions, comments? Councilman Kluwat.
Yeah, Miss Bobby, could you come back to the microphone, please? I'm kind of new to this arena, so how many years have you been running this program?
This is my 13th summer.
13th summer, and I guess I'm you know, my heart's in the right place about what you're doing, and I appreciate that. What we try to do is, you know, look for some perpetual funding for you, or for the program, whether it be you or whoever, you know. Mm-hmm. And where has your monetary base came from? It's always came from the parish?
Not all. We had some churches that helped us.
Some private funding?
Private funding.
Donations?
My own funding.
Sure, I understand that.
You know, it's just that I think everybody is, how would I say, in a tight bond right now, including the parish. I understand that. But this is even more severe. These children cannot go and even afford the entrance fees and not play. Mm-hmm. They can't do regular things. And here they can go and laugh and smile and not have to worry about being laughed at. We laugh with them, not at them. Now we have our last special Tuesday, July 22nd. I'd like to see everybody there. And don't come in suits, because they're going to think you're a doctor. You come casual. Seriously, maybe if you saw the program, you would come to understand it and appreciate it.
What I'd like to see is working with, I don't necessarily know every line item in the budget, but we have, as Parish President Morton has said, he has $3,000 right now within that budget item. Three. That would have to go, into process. We'll approve this. If we approve this out of the Finance Committee, it goes to recreation, being that is a recreational function. I would like to be something, you work with the parish to try to get this set up as a parish-sponsored event, something that will get you some perpetual funding. That's what I'm trying to.
I see what you're saying.
You possibly have that event, that program would have a line item within the budget designated through the recreation department.
We're like in an alternative program under the parish. So you'd like to see it become a parish?
Well, that's what I'm saying. That would be my want, to see it get set up to where it is part of a budget, being the recreation budget, since it is a recreation event, and it would be funded for you. We would seed in some money for you to guarantee that it's in that line item for every year.
Right.
And I don't know if I'm explaining myself right, so if anybody
I
else
would
wishes to comment.
imagine no one's paid. It's strictly all volunteer.
Sure. No, I have no question about that. I'm just talking about basically funding the program to where to stop from having the bag. You understand?
I have the same thought.
That's to where it is a part of the recreation program, and that it has a line item within their budget to fund your program every year, with the possibility of those funds growing, a small percentage, just like any other part of that budget, should it grow, okay? All right? And I'm sure that folks up here would mind lending a hand, trying to get some private donations or something else to sponsor that event, some type of fundraising event for you.
I see what you're saying.
And folks in the audience no different. I know half these people here, okay? But just trying to get it seeded in, and so to where it would be a part of the budget, to where you would have some funding guaranteed, where you wouldn't have to come ask for it. And I have no problem with you running it.
Well, I need all of you to put your minds together, because the last 2 Tuesdays was very hard, because I had children calling me to go pick them up. Their parents didn't have money for gas to get them to Sorrento. And when I have to tell a special child, I can't leave and go get you, it hurts. So if you can come up with something, I've tried the school board, I've tried Council on Aging, anything, get your minds together and call me. How we can provide transportation for these children.
I would like to see you try to work possibly with the parish president. He knows more about everything that he's got control over, transportation or whatever, to help to try to get this as a parish-sponsored event. Okay, and that way it will be in there, and it'll seed it in for these children to have some type of guarantees. They'll have some facilities and recreation available to them on an annual basis.
Yes. And it takes place, it's just 8 weeks out of the summer, 4 hours, So I would love to see all of you. I'm inviting you all to come to our last special Tuesday until Christmas. Christmas, I'll give them their party. Please. Just to see for yourself.
Great.
Thank you so much for your time.
I make a motion that we give them that additional $3,000 that's left in the budget and send that to the recreation department.
I second that.
Motion by Councilman Thompson that we approve an additional $3,000 in funding and, through the Recreation Department, seconded by Councilman Todd Lambert. Any discussion? Councilman Joseph.
So the policy and procedure that we adopted a couple of months ago, we're gonna ignore that policy, and we're just gonna approve the funding from finance.
It's going to rec. I think his motion was to send it to rec.
Send it to you.
What it needs to go to Recreation, and it needs to come back here with a budget impact analysis, identifying the funding and the impact of the budget, and then it'll get on. Parish
And I
President.
have one more question. Can the parish president enlighten us where we're gonna get the other $2,000 from?
I didn't say anything about the other 2,000. That's
Well,
a
I'm
request
asking.
that's gonna come to the recreation.
For 3,000.
Right.
Well, for 3, and she's requesting 5 tonight, so whatever. The request is gonna be for 5, evidently, is what she's asking for.
Well, you got 3 already, and you had 8. 3. You got 8 in the budget.
So you asked an additional 2,000.
We asking you where
Out of the budget. It would have to come through, back to the finance if you did that. I'm just to follow the procedure. I'm just trying to.
I'd like to amend the motion that we just go ahead and approve it as is, and we bypass our normal procedure for this, and we have the $2,000. Excuse me, the $3,000.
I'd like to. Well, I mean, you can go ahead and make your motion, but after your motion, I'd like to ask this council to pass a resolution, and also something that I would sign, and we would send it to businesses and industries around, asking for private donations to supplement the balance of that money. That answers Mr. Joseph's question. I think that we could do it that way, and I think we could round up a couple $1,000s here or there from some different businesses, and maybe more, so it may not be as much of an impact on the budget as we're anticipating. So if you would kindly do a motion to that effect from the Finance Committee, requesting that I request funds from some private, asking
make that
businesses, businesses to please help this cause.
All right, motion by Councilman Kluwat and seconded by Councilman Thompson to pass a resolution authorizing the parish president, or encouraging the parish president to solicit these additional funds from private donations and businesses. That is the extra. This is about the $2,000.
Yes.
Okay. So we still have on the table the $3,000.
Yeah, still on the table.
Yeah, that's still on the table.
You put a first and a second on it.
She got a vote.
Okay, let me get this motion correct. Okay, we're gonna bypass recreation and approve the $3,000 tonight, if based on what Mr. Chairman said. Correct?
I'm stating we can basically bypass the Finance Committee. Since we're discussing it at the Finance Committee and we understand where it's coming from for the budget impact analysis, we can send it back to Recreation, and then it be passed there, and not have to again go through our normal process of coming back to Finance and coming back to Council. So that's my intent of my motion. Second by Councilman Thompson. Any further discussion?
Yes.
Councilman Scheck-Snyder.
Real quick, no one wants to see this program succeed more than I. I appreciate all the people that, Bobby and all the rest of them that have done so much. One of the problems that we have, and Bobby and I discussed this and everything, is that when you go from, we were under the parish umbrella, and because of restrictions, she decided to go private. And it makes it awkward from a public funds to private entity. And so I would like to urge that after this is over, that you get with parish president, set up some guidelines so that we can get you under the parish umbrella where you don't have to get insurance. You're going to have to follow some guidelines, but it's going to be for the kids, and take it and go with it. And that way we can get a good funding mechanism so it's done properly. And with that, we can also, I think we can also solicit private funds. And I think we wouldn't have this problem as we continue to go on. So I would like to respectfully ask you to get with parish president after this and work out something that we can get under the parish umbrella. Thank you.
Any objection on the motion? Motion passes. Next item, number 9, Lake Pontchartrain Basin Restoration Grant, $131,579.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Councilman Thompson to approve. Second by Councilman Kluwat. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion passes. Next item, authorization of $5,000 pay raise, year pay raise for Assistant District Attorney O'Neill Parrington.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Lambert, second by Councilman Thompson. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion passes. Number 11, public opinion poll.
You should all have in your packets a copy of a poll that I've been talking about for quite some time now. I asked everyone for any comments on this, additions or deletions. I think I heard from Mr. Schexnayder and maybe Mr. Lohr. This is a final version. This money is in executive budget. It will be less than $10,000. And it's professional services. That's $15,000 in that line item. And this is for your information only. I just want to make sure that everybody knows about this, and if anybody has a problem, speak up.
I just want to say I think I've read through it, and I think it is excellently worded, good questions, and I think it'll help us in making decisions about what the priorities are for this parish and what the people, making sure what we think the people want is what they really want. So, Councilman Schexnayder.
I just wanted to echo that. I want to thank the parish president for coming out and asking the people. A lot of times we think we know when this is a way to do it properly. We'll get data that we can go back and useful information that we can find out where we need to head. So I appreciate you doing that. Support it.
Okay, on the anything else on the public opinion poll? Councilman Joseph.
Yeah, Mr. President, what's the estimated cost for this poll?
Around $9,500.
All right, it's gonna go to everyone, or how many?
Gonna go to 400 households.
Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Not in the city limits. This will be rural only.
All right, thank you.
Any further discussion on this item? Last item is financial master plan budget considerations. Just wanted to mention that I'm going to be setting up work groups with with the council to go over, to follow up basically on what we talked about previously with the budget year coming up, and really getting some priorities around, trying to determine our priorities for some of these major needs that we have. So I'm going to be setting those up in the near future for us to really hash this out and figure out how we're going to budget for, basically carve up the pie. You know, there's more needs than there is resources, and so we need to do some real planning for the budget. Parish President.
We should have some projections for you as to where we're going to end the year. They may not be perfect. They may be within $100,000, $200,000, but at least we'll know where we stand. So at the next Finance Committee meeting, we'll put it on the agenda and kind of go over what we're projecting we're going to end the year with, what monies we'll have available, and what big projects are going to be coming up in the next year. So those are the type of things we can get you that information also.
Thank you. In advance of that, I'd like to ask each councilman to please, go ahead and prioritize underneath roads, recreation, strategic planning, all those areas. Prioritize, your needs and what you want to see, and then we'll all come together and meet about that. Decide. Any discussion on that? Okay. Motion adjourned by Councilman Lambert.
Second.
Second by Councilman Bell. Meeting adjourned.